Hello out there. We're on the air. We're the only stream on Zapstream. Everyone else is running away. Everyone's panicking. Oh my God. Even Arnie. Even Arnie's panicking. Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Happy frickin' Monday, my friends. Killer with the first chat of the day today. Some things never change. The price of Bitcoin, not so much. Ginger, look at that. Haven't seen Ginger in the chat for a while anyways. I've seen him in some other places. Good morning. Finally back after a wild ice storm and no power for 1 week. Damn. Cleaning machine. Ginger, it's good to have you back, my friend. Glad everything's okay. Cleaning machine, good morning. It is a beautiful day in Bitcoin. Morning, Bodie. Cheers, my friend. Oh, coffee is tasting good today. I don't think I've ever had a better coffee than today. Have I? Maybe. Sell everything. $1.52. Great advice. Sell everything except Bitcoin. Stock market holding up okay, surprisingly. Is it? I don't know. I've just been seeing everyone's freaking out. And they should be. Bird Meta, good morning. I have a screening for a promotion today. Wish me luck. All right. Good luck, my friend. Cheers. Good luck. Everybody send Bird Meta a little bit of luck right now. Just say good luck, Bird Meta. I hope that you do all you need for your promotion. Promotion equals more Bitcoins, more sats, I should say. Laughpad's in the chat. Good morning, Laughpad. Is that a fire extinguisher? Okay, we got a couple folks over in the Zap stream. Oh, shoot. Shiitake mushrooms. I'm going to have to be right back here because it is Monday for the rescue dogs today. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to do it. We're going to do it. But I want to encourage everybody to use Zapstream today, like our friend Josh did. Josh zapped 888 sats for the rescue dogs today. Thank you, Josh. So if you do feel like donating to the rescue dogs today, you can do it over on the Zapstream or I'll give you a shout out tomorrow, either one. If you can't figure out the Zaps, that's okay. But my other phone, ARNIE'S Wallet, is on the couch. The cooch. So on that note, let's why does MetaMask keep opening every time I open my internet browser? What do you want from me, MetaMask? What are you looking for? Rescue dogs. Let's get a check here. So I would say, on a day like today, we're going to go through a lot of these. So that's the first thing I would say is get used to it. We're very far from the volatility being gone from Bitcoin. But let's switch our focus a little bit to the good things in life. And one of those good things is the Rescue Dog Fund. And right now, I don't have it here. But here's the thing. We have 408. This is the updated numbers for the Rescue Dog Fund. 408,624 sats. That's fucking massive. That is so massive. 408,000 sats for the rescue dogs. So once we get that number to 500,000, that's the minimum. I'm going to swap it over to on-chain. We're going to set up a little, we're going to have our first UTXO. Maybe we'll do it on the show. We'll see. But it's going to be first UTXO at 500K. We're going to be showing proof of reserves for this rescue dog fund. And we're going to save a lot of dogs. A lot of dogs. So look at that. We got Plunger with a 1,000 sat zap for the rescue dogs today. Cheers, Plunger. Thank you, my friend. Laughpad says, I'm on Zapstream and accepting sats for my birthday today. There you go. Laughpad. I'll send you a little zap if I can. Can I? Zap. Zap. Not working. Zap. Let me try it on Zapstream. I'm on sats.gg right now. Okay, so that's one very positive piece of news for the day. 408,000 sats for the dogs. Now let's get to the second piece of news. You ready? Check this shit out. Check this shit out, my friends. See that? That's for those who might not be able to see. This is the hash rate. This is the amount of energy going into securing the Bitcoin network. The amount of people who believe that it is more worthwhile to try to mine Bitcoin as opposed to buy Bitcoin. So we hit a new all-time high in the hash rate, which to me is the real indicator of the Bitcoin network, the hash rate. And we hit an all-time high, 1,025 exahash, or let's look at this. Perplexity. I think it's zettahash. What comes after exahash in measurement? Zettahash. Oh, and then yottahash. Look at that. So we hit a new all-time high in hash rate. 1 zettahash, 1.025 zettahash. And I love looking at this because if you look at, I looked at this chart this morning when I just wanted to double check that I was given the right information here. But I looked at this chart this morning and I just like laughed out loud because how could you ask for anything more than this? Look at this. Look at this chart. That is a crazy, crazy chart. So here you can see back in 2010 when it was about Satoshi and a couple other friends here mining for Bitcoin. The difficulty was 1. The hash rate was 3,000. No, what would that be? 3,000 kilohash per second. And then we went to megahash per second. And then we went to gigahash. I'm guessing. I'm just making this up. Gigahash per second. And then terahash per second. And then petahash per second. And then exahash per second. And we just started ripping. And then last week, look at it right there. Oh, it's not going to show it. Come on. Anyways, you saw it. Zettahash. We are officially in zettahash territory, my friends. It could not be better than that. Amazing. Anyways, it's Laughpad's birthday, so how can we give him some zaps here? Here we go. Let's try this. Laughpad zap. Let's try this out. This is coming out of the Rescue Dog Fund, Laughpad. Just kidding. Just joking. Okay, let's try this out. 420 sats zapped to Laughpad for his birthday. Happy birthday, my friend. Thank you for all the support here on the Bitcoin journey on the 88 sats radio. Best of luck. There we go. Yes, everybody, once again, send a happy birthday to Laughpad and a good luck to our friend Bird Meta here on the promotion today. And we got a fat zap over in the zap stream. Look at that. I don't know who it is yet, but let's find out. It was a fat zap. I do know that. All right, what else we got here? Joshua in both chats this morning. Love to see that. Pablo, Parker, absolutely killing it on the YouTubes. If you're not yet, make sure you go check out Parker's channel. Been doing some good things on the YouTube. Good to see. Great to see, actually. Oh, it's Letha. Sorry, Letha. I was over on Zapstream and I just said your NPub. Letha with a fat zap of 2,100 sats for the dogs today. Thank you, Letha. And Josh says, how about them Maple Bitcoin hoodies, Jor? Sold out? No. We have 2 hoodies left, I think. I haven't checked yet today, but as of last night, we had 2 Maple Bitcoin hoodies left. And so, Josh, you got one of those ones. Your name is on the list. I'm going to be emailing people back today. So you're good. You got one of the limited edition Maple Bitcoin hoodies. Tommy D, good to see you, my friend. Caden says, watch some golf over the weekend and realized you look like Tommy Fleetwood. Yeah, I've heard that quite a bit. Actually, I just have a very familiar face, but I would say Tommy Fleetwood would be probably one of the closer ones. Somebody said I look like George Carlin. Then I looked at it and it's actually kind of close. It's mostly just the beard and the longer hair, though. I'll show you a pic here. I was kind of insulted because the last time I saw George Carlin, he was like 80. So I just assumed people was saying that I looked old. But I could kind of see this. Again, it's mostly just the hair and the beard. But yeah, I could kind of see it. But Tommy Fleetwood, I would say would be more of a closer comparison. I just have a familiar face though. People always just stop and say hi to me, just like randomly. They're like, "Oh, never mind. I thought you were somebody else." Lots of pictures here of Tommy. He's got better hair though, for sure. He's got longer hair. Yeah, I could see it. Lots of pictures there. Same kind of thing though. Mostly just beard and hair. Stock market only down 3%. LOL. Ah, that's lame. That's lame. We want a crash, baby. We want a crash. We want it. We need it. Laughpad doxed himself. Happy birthday, Laughpad. Ian, good morning, my friend. Jason, Daniel says, I told you to keep dry powder for the weekend. He was right. Daniel was right. I can confirm that. He did say that. Good call, Daniel. Good call, my friend. Neo says, last time the stock market was down 3 days in a row, 3% was the 1929 crash. I think it has begun. Feels that way, doesn't it? Cleaner Machine, what is your speed address? It looks like there's some people who want to send you a zap. You might have answered that already. But anyways. Bitcoin holding up really well. Bitcoin is becoming the king. Bitcoin has always been the king. It's just that people are slowly figuring that out, right? Green light. J-Dog, good morning, Jor and Arnie. I thought there was a hint of Tommy Fleetwood about you too. Yep. He's got better hair and he's a better golfer. So I'm kind of the poor man's Tommy Fleetwood. But the funny thing is, actually, I shouldn't say that because I probably have more Bitcoin than Tommy. So maybe not the poor man, but the less skilled Tommy Fleetwood. But the funny thing about that is my real name is actually Tommy. I don't know. There'd be a couple people in the chat who would know that. But that would be news to others. My real name is Tommy. That's as much as I'll say. And it's not that I'm trying to like, Jor isn't like a fake name. It's my middle name. So there you go. Fun fact for today. Up and to the right, that's what we want. Yes. Do you have a speed wall lap pad? Let's see if No, we don't see it in there yet. Rumor is Jerome Powell is still working for the Dems and will not comply for Trump. Trump can't control the Fed, so they will use the Fed to end Trump. Yeah, good luck. Good luck with that. Who do you think's scrambling more this morning, Trump or the Fed? Who's calling an emergency meeting today at 11:30? Trump or the Fed? The Fed isn't going to end Trump. Trump is going to end the Fed. It's been one of his very early motives to end the Fed and end the central banking. All evil in this world stems from the central banks. All of it. Actually, I never even mentioned this on the show. But last week, Trump was talking about something, and he mentioned 1913. He said, for some reason, they decided that they were going to create the Federal Reserve and start taxing people. 1913, big year. That's the world's been downhill ever since 1913. Josh says, you got the Carlin vibes, even the truth-telling aspect. He spoke out against the Matrix. Well, I can relate to that for sure. On a smaller scale, but we're working on it. Alvin says, I like these prices. Just got another 3K worth of Bitcoin. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about, baby. I bought some Bitcoin myself last night. I wish I would have waited till today, but I'm still happy and thankful that I got some for cheap last night. Santino, good morning. Laughpad says, I will remember these sats in caps. Thank you all for the zaps. Oh my God. Love that. Love that. 45 people watching, 16 likes. Yeah, come on, folks. What are we doing here? What are we doing? Although there are bigger things than likes in this world. And one of those things is zaps for the dogs. So Mondays are for the dogs. That's what we're doing here today. Love this. Love this. Couldn't ask for a better birthday than on a Black Monday. Some cheap sats for the birthday. Rick, Jor the man. This dip came at a good time. I'm close to convincing a few family members to invest at least 1,000 in Bitcoin. Yep. Oh, we're crashing here. Internet stopped. I don't want to say anything just in case I say something important and then my internet stops working. So we'll get it back. I don't know what's going on here. I mean, I got a good idea. I have 3,000 fucking tabs open. That would be a contributing factor. But anyways, good job, Rick. Good job. That's what you want. Don't care about some random person on the street buying Bitcoin, but we should be looking after our family. Actually, you know what I started to do here? This is going to be, this is a little bit inside stuff here. Not that anybody cares too much, but so I'm at an age where most of my friends have young kids. Hopefully I'll have some young kids here soon as well. But basically what I did is that I took X amount of sats and I labeled it for each one of my friends, good friends, not all friends, couldn't do that. Don't want to give away that many sats. But I put in a Sparrow wallet just like X amount of sats per kid for my friends. I feel like that's the best way to do it because first of all, then you don't have to waste time. You don't have to waste any of your time trying to convince your friends to buy Bitcoin. You put a little bit away for them on their behalf. And then in 20 years, you say, hey, your kid's starting a business. He's 25 years old. Here, I'll help him out a bit. I bought this UTXO back in 2025, earmarked for him. Could you imagine? Could you imagine that feeling, both sides? How good it would feel to give that to somebody and how good it would feel for them to not expect it. Because that's the problem. When kids have when kids know that their parents are rich or their parents are, gonna support. I mean, not support's one thing. Obviously, parents should always support their kids, but pay for everything. Basically, have their lives funded by their parents. They don't do as well in life. But imagine somebody's 25. They're working their ass off. They're starting a business, and you could send them some Bitcoin at that time in 20 years from now. I can't even imagine what that would feel like. So that's what I'm doing. And the other part of that too is that even if something happens, even if I lose touch with my friends or whatever, even if they end up buying a bunch of Bitcoin, they don't end up needing it, then whatever, it's still mine. It's still in my possession. They don't know that they have it. So hopefully none of my close friends are watching the show today. They aren't. But anyways, that's a way to do it, I think. Mate says, I've heard yesterday some people talking about how their pension funds are down. Made me feel kind of sad. I think a lot of people are going to lose trust in the whole system and start learning about Bitcoin. Yeah, I agree. It is kind of sad, but at the same time, let's bring up this. That's a good entry point into this, I think. Let's make sure that I shared it though. But speaking of Tommy, speaking of Tommy Fleetwood, speaking of the Masters, it is Masters week. And, I don't pay a whole lot of attention to sports overall, but the Masters week is a big one for me. So I think we did a stream last year, actually, on Zapstream, watching the Masters for a while together. Might do that again. That was a lot of fun. But we're also doing a Masters pool for 15,000 sats, I think, or 20. I forget which one we're using. 15,000 sats, I think. So if you're interested in being part of the Masters sats pool this time around, you can just reach out to me somehow. Put in the work, figure out how to contact me. And did I send this? I did. Look at me. Look at me go. And I think we're going to have a record amount of entries. I've already had about 15 people on nostr reach out. So it's going to be good. It's going to be a good week. And this is going to be my first weekend at home for feels like a fucking year. Okay, so speaking of this, on this note from Mate here, said I heard yesterday some people talking about how their pension funds are down. Made me feel kind of sad. I think a lot of people are going to lose trust in the whole system and start learning about Bitcoin. I think so too. And let's watch this video here from Scott Besant talking about who owns the stock market. Who owns it? And then we'll talk about Bitcoin, and then we'll talk about how I think it's all going to play out. So here we go.
The distribution of equities across households, the top 10% of Americans own 88% of equities, 88% of the stock market. Households.
It's a good number, but that's not the point.
Of equities across households, the top 10% of Americans own 88% of equities, 88% of the stock market. The next 40% owns 12% of the stock market. The bottom 50 has debt. They have credit card bills. They rent their homes. They have auto loans, and we've got to give them some relief. That I was struck by the statistic from last year.
That's the message right there. Just as a bystander, I'm like, wow, okay.
All right. Or that I like the examples, and I was really struck by two different statistics last year. Summer of 2024, Americans took more European vacations than they had in history. Summer of 2024, more Americans were using food banks than they ever have in history. I went into two food banks near my hometown to ask, what's the story? And they said, it really takes, for a lot of people, it's a loss of dignity to walk in a food bank.
Of course.
But they were seeing a new phenomenon, that it wasn't their traditional clientele. It wasn't people who'd lost their homes. It wasn't people out on the street. These were working families who could no longer $100 at the grocery store. That basket of groceries every week, they were missing 5, 6, 7 things, and they were coming to the food bank to top up. So that's not a great America. Record European vacation, record food banks.
So when we think about it like that, do we feel too bad for the stock market crash? It almost seems like a stock market crash would take money from the rich and give it back to the poor in some way. If the poor only knew about Bitcoin, if the poor could only afford a small amount of Bitcoin, that is the only way out for a lot of these people. Just think about it. Just think about this very simply. Let's say you had somebody on the street and you gave them $1,000. Wherever it came from, who knows? Give them $1,000. Put that $1,000 in a savings account. You're going to try to change this person's life on the street. $1,000 in a savings account. Earning even a high interest account. Let's say it's earning 5%. You look back at that thing in about 10 years from now, what are you going to have? Maybe $1,100? Except that $1,100 is going to buy you significantly less than it does today. That's one system. Second one, you could buy $1,000 worth of stocks. You might get 10% a year. Maybe. Days like this, much less. But we're not looking day to day here. Over time, you put that in 10% per year. Maybe you have, I don't know, $1,500 at the end of it. That $1,500 buys you much less than it does today. Not going to get rich, not going to change anybody's life with the stock market. But you take $1,000 and you put that thing into Bitcoin. You leave it for 10 years. What's it going to be worth? I don't know. I would guess much higher. I would guess that if you gave somebody $1,000 worth of Bitcoin today and you waited 10, 20, 30 years, if you held on to that thing for 30 years, you're not only going to change your life, but you're going to change your whole family's life. And that is the difference between the stock market and Bitcoin and the savings account, the fiat system, and Bitcoin. One is stuck. One side is stuck, and it's never going to get any higher than it is today, in my opinion, because things are going to be made for less and less, and profits are going to go down and down from that consumer world that we're used to living in. And it's going to flow into Bitcoin. And that $1,000 is going to get you a very finite piece of the pie of the world, the future world reserve currency. So the best thing that anybody could be doing right now is just buying some Bitcoin. And on days like today, you can get more sats for that $1,000. So it seems to me like as the stock market, as everything crashes here, we can see who owns it. 90%, or he said 88% of people. Sorry, 88% of the stock market is owned by 10% of the people. And I would say that it's probably like 80% is owned by 1%. So as the stock market keeps crashing, that's taken from the rich people, not so much the pensioners. Pensioners are, I don't know, they're kind of in a weird spot right now because they're in a fixed income and everything else is going higher and higher. We're on a path right now that is not sustainable. And we need things like what's happening right now. We need this to happen. As much as people love to think that housing prices can go up forever, the stock market can go up forever, that's not a real world. That's not a real market. That's a totally manipulated, illusionary market. So I hope the stock market just goes to absolute shit. I do. Even though I will be impacted by that myself. But it has to end. It has to end here at some point because everything is just a complete lie. And what fun is it to live in a world that's just a complete lie? You spend time in that system, you're never going to get further ahead. You're never, ever going to catch up. You're just going to continuously be drained and drained and drained. And that's why with inflation, you have to understand that inflation only benefits the rich people because the rich people are the only ones who actually hold assets. And when inflation goes up, when they print more money, the value of those assets are artificially inflated. So even though inflation's going up, their assets, stocks, real estate, everything's going up with that. So some of them are, breaking even. Some of them are getting ahead. Some of them are probably losing a bit. But for the most part, if you own assets, that top 20%, you're going to be okay. The 80%, the rest of everybody else, life is just going to keep getting more and more expensive for you. So that's where we are right now. There's a huge gap right there. 20% of people, yes, they will break even or go up a little bit or down a little bit. But for everybody else, the 80%, life is just going to keep getting more and more expensive because you don't hold any assets. You just hold cash, and that cash is continuously losing value and buying much less than it did last week. So the rich people, that's what inflation does. It helps the rich get richer, and it makes the poor poorer. That is horrible. And that's why we're seeing so many issues with our society right now for that simple fucking reason. That's it. Everything stems from that equation. And if you understand that, then everything happening right now makes total sense. I've spent the last 6 weeks in and around a very busy hospital in a big city, and this place is a fucking disaster because of that. It has nothing to do with the premier in this part or what the property taxes are or what the tariffs are doing. It has nothing to do with any of that. The problem is that a small group of people have the ability to create money. And when they create money, the rich people get richer and the poor people get poorer. That's the whole problem. Everything stems from that equation. And when you understand that, that's why you want to hold Bitcoin. Because not only is it a hedge, but it's the only fucking chance that we have here. So I don't give a shit what the stock market's doing. It's a complete illusion. Complete illusion. 80% of those companies aren't making a profit. They're just being propped up. The illusion is just being propped up by people being forced to contribute to that every 2 weeks. It makes no sense. You look at some of the PE ratios of the bigger stocks like Tesla, Nvidia, Apple, Microsoft. It would take 30 years. You make an investment, you buy one Microsoft share, it's going to take you 30 years. That's how inflated this stock market is. That's how what would you even call it? Overrated, not overrated, but the price of this market is too high. It makes no sense. It's just a complete illusion. So the faster this whole thing ends, the better that we're going to be overall as a society, as a species, everything. The faster this thing crashes, the better we're going to be. Take that one to the bank. Okay, we got a fat ass Zap here. Our favorite number. Look at that laugh pad on his birthday for the dogs. That's, shit like that I just love because this community here, we got laugh pad. I'm sure he got some zaps from people. People were asking for his lightning address. He got some zaps in the Zap stream. And then he zaps 8,000 sats for the dogs. And I'll tell you, my experience on Nostr for the last 2.5 years here, it feels just as good, if not better, to zap somebody versus receiving zaps. That's why this whole thing works. And we got 88 people in here. Good number. Bodie's buying. Bodie's buying. Bodie's buying. Battle between the Fed and the Treasury. Yes, 1,000%. That's the real war happening right now. It's not Russia. It's not Ukraine. It's not China. It's not Taiwan. It's not Yemen. The real war happening right now is this one. And everybody else is impacted by it. Marco, how about MicroStrategy right now? Good opportunity? Yeah. MicroStrategy is a good opportunity. Yes. They have 528,000 Bitcoin. Jay, happy Monday. Happy Monday to you, my friend. Simon says, taking out a loan for some things and probably going to take out some extra to get some Bitcoin. I ain't no DCA. I smashed that buy button any chance I can for however much I can. Yes. That's how it's done. Gray over on Zapstream said, I would buy the dip, but I'm all out of fiat. Yeah, I mean, that's the only problem as a Bitcoiner. The only problem when Bitcoin goes down, if the green light's turned on, the only problem that you have is that you probably don't have a whole lot of dollars to buy more Bitcoin with. That's the only thing. But other than that, life is good. What else we got here? Josh says, how's mom doing, Jor? She's doing a lot better. She was walking this weekend. She's been in a bed for a month. So she was walking this weekend. She actually walked up a slight little incline, which is good. She was a little bit sore after, but we're on the right track. Thank you for asking. Bitcoin continues to weed out the tourists. OGs are stacking hard. Yes. Dutchy's loving the Bitcoin price today. Simon says, no one in my massive family wants to listen about Bitcoin, so I figured I just need to buy more for them. When the day comes, they realize they should have listened. Yep. That's the way to do it. That's the best approach. Like to be the rich uncle, thinking for the generations. Yep. I mean, it's kind of, it's, doing something like that is a little bit selfish for me. Selfish in the sense that I don't have to waste time trying to convince them to buy Bitcoin. And selfish that I know how good of a feeling that's going to be in 10 or 20 years from now. Imagine 20 years, put away some Bitcoin and hold on to that for 20 years. Like, just think about how much Bitcoin has gone from, it's 16 years old. So imagine Bitcoin in 2010 versus today. It's going to be the exact same thing in 20 years from now, except probably even more based on the exponential growth curve. So it's going to be awesome. Yes. For a lot of reasons. So Simon says, yes, Joe, I have 7 kids and I want to start a wallet for each. Teach them now how to spend, how to start their own speed wallet and play around with some sats to see how it all works. That's the best thing to do. Honestly, when you're first getting people into Bitcoin is start with Lightning. Start with Lightning. I don't think you should, and this is just kind of my opinion on things, but I don't think the first people's experience with Bitcoin should be putting their passport and driver's license into an exchange and buying Bitcoin. I don't think that that's the play. Because it just seems like how we do everything now. There's nothing there, right? It's very confusing. I think you should hold off on buying Bitcoin a little bit. If you have the choice, just send them some Bitcoin over Lightning. That is such a magical thing from my experience. That's what really starts the light being turned on in somebody's brain. When you can sit there, you can scan a QR code or type in a Lightning address and send them Bitcoin. I was meeting with a lawyer probably 2.5 years ago now. And I sent her like 888 sats or 8,000 sats, one of the two. And she texts me sometimes and just say, wow, this is worth this now. Because they have no risk that way. They're not putting any of their own money in because I sent her some Lightning or some Bitcoin over Lightning. So first of all, she was really impressed with how fast it happened. Number one. Number two, she saw that I could send it to her very easily without anybody's permission. I have to log into anything. I didn't have to convert anything. I just sent it. And number three, she's been watching that wall because she didn't buy any, but she's been watching the dollar value that just go up and up and up. So obviously, since then, she's bought some Bitcoin. It's different when you actually have some of your own skin in the game, whether it's from somebody else or you bought it yourself, but it's much different than just like casually paying attention to the price of Bitcoin. So that would be my advice is start with Lightning. Don't get somebody to start out by, KYCing themselves because it's just not as magical. It's just whatever. Have you been BlackRock pilled 88? BlackRock pilled. I don't know what that means. Ballsy Golf, good morning. Good to see you. Markets, Monday markets and the Masters. Yes, great. It's going to be a great week. What's my favorite beer? Sol. S-O-L. Sol. Dutchy, my son is 18 and he can stack sats with everything he can. Then he asked me for spending money. Makes me happier inside. Yes, that is the way to do it. Canada pension. Oh, Daniel. Daniel with a fat zap for the dogs. Fatty incoming for the dogs. 8,888 sats from our good friend Daniel. Thank you, Daniel. You know, I don't know what's going on over on Arnie's Wallet here, but we might actually get to 500,000 today. Last week, March 31st, 2025, we had 92,756 sats. And if we got pretty much that exact same number today, we would get to our 500,000 sat UTXO. Pretty impressive. We might do it. We might do it. Daniel, Patty, D Patty 33, biddies on sale. Yes. Tom says, woke up to buy some 74K Bitcoin. Feels like victory getting so many sats for so little. Bingo. Bingo, bango, bongo. Tom says, good morning, Jor and company. Great show on the Maple Bitcoin. Was a great show. Man, I'm having so much fun with those guys. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. But it just seems like we can talk about pretty much any topic within Bitcoin. And I'm going to learn something from those guys. So I just put the link over to Maple Bitcoin there in the chat. So definitely, if you haven't looked at Maple Bitcoin stuff yet, some of the best stuff I think in Bitcoin is on this channel. Forrest made a comment on the live stream. I loved it. And we actually talk about this behind the scenes a little bit. But Forrest said that his favorite channel on YouTube is Maple Bitcoin. And I agree. Like some of the stuff, I've learned a lot from those guys. But the cool thing about it is we can take any topic within Bitcoin and we can start talking about it. And we just kind of like leads us down these different roads. And we come up with different ideas of our own that we might not have thought of on our own. Like, for example, if I'm just sitting here talking to the camera, I'm very limited in terms of, you know, my knowledge and my ideas. But once I give some of that knowledge and ideas to these guys, it's just like a machine. And then they come up with something which sparks something else in my brain. But anyways, the live show on Friday was really good. The great decoupling. It was about an hour. We spent about 40 minutes talking and then 25 minutes answering questions. So definitely, if you're not subscribed over to Maple Bitcoin yet, make sure that you do it. And this one did not, there's not enough people who saw this video. I think this is the best video that we've done so far, which is Bitcoin runs out at every price. This was the one we shared on Sunday, and there was not even close to as many people who should see that video. We talked about the fact that at every price, as Bitcoin gets higher, there's going to be less and less people wanting to sell, which is just going to drive up the price even more. That's kind of Rajat's theory. It's kind of ties with the green light theory a little bit, but we also talked about the difficulty adjustment. We talked about stock to flow, gold, other assets, demand, supply. Really good, really informative video. I think that was the best one that we've done. So if you got some time today, make sure you check that one out on the Maple Bitcoin channel. Jay says the people won't allow the government to bail out the banks, but what about the pensions, your parents' pensions? That's what I said. I said I will be directly impacted by a stock market crash, but I don't give a shit. I don't. It's all a lie. It doesn't matter who's going to win, who's going to lose. The whole thing is a lie. And we don't need any more lies in this world. The whole stock market is just a complete illusion. Oh, I got to watch these today, actually. It's on the agenda, Tom. Thanks for bringing this up. Anyone else watch the MIT speeches? Was eye-opening this weekend. I got to watch some of those. Health and Wealth Dad, also known as Yogi. Good morning, Yogi. Yogi Bear. Tom says it just got 25% easier to get 100 million sats. Yes. Okay, let me, man, this computer is just running like a big flaming pile of dog shit right now. Find, okay, I want to show you guys something here real quickly. I just want to show you a perfect example here of why, you know, these dips are so important to be taken advantage of. Okay, so 75, 100K, 100 and what do we get to? 115K? $1,000. All right, so let's take a quick look at this because this is absolutely the truth. This is how we need to be thinking about things here. When you think about, okay, take home 1,000 Bitcoin price sats per buy. Take home, so we'll call this what, a contribution? The buy, let's call it the Bitcoin buy. So this is how people should be thinking about Bitcoin right now. Because the beautiful thing about Bitcoin is that you really can't lose. You can't. The only time a Bitcoiner could lose is when the price is crashing and they have no dollars. But when you think about it this way, the Bitcoin price goes up, your net worth increases. As a Bitcoiner, your net worth goes up. And the purchasing power of the assets that you have, Bitcoin, also buys you more. So that's obviously a win. On the flip side, when Bitcoin is crashing, whatever value you add to the world, you get more real currency in exchange for that. So if you went to work today and let's say you earned $300 for whatever job you did and your expenses are $250, you get $50, you put that into Bitcoin. Because you get more sats at a lower price, you're actually earning more real currency when the price goes down. So it's you cannot lose in Bitcoin. And when that green light comes on, when you understand that, then days like this there's no worries. The only worry is how to get more fiat to try to buy more Bitcoin. But the spreadsheet here does a really good job explaining that. So you can see here that if you had $1,000 kicking around, this is the difference between the Bitcoin price. This is the only thing that you should be concerned about is how many sats you're getting in exchange for your dollars. So you got $1,000. The price today, $75,000. You're going to get 1.3 million sats for that. 1.3 million sats. That same $1,000 with the price being at $100,000 gets you 1 million sats. So 333,000 sats less you get when the price goes up. And when the price goes to our all-time high, I think it was about $115,000, you get 869,565 sats. So the difference there between today and the all-time high is 463,768 sats. That's for $1,000 purchase. That's not like $100,000. You're putting everything you have into Bitcoin. That's $1,000 purchase of Bitcoin. That's how many sats, the variance there in sats, which for somebody who's, not in Bitcoin, that doesn't probably seem like a lot, but I'm glad that they put a $sign on this. Thank you, Excel. Because when you think about it this way, in 10, 20, 30 years, whenever it happens, whenever one sat is equal to $1, you're going to have $463,000 worth of purchasing power in that variance there, in that spread between $75,000 Bitcoin and $115,000 Bitcoin. That is absolutely massive. You bought those. I mean, the further you look down the road, the crazier this gets. But just realistically, just pretend that one day, if you agree with me here, that one day one sat is equal to $1, then that difference in price from the all-time high to today, how many more sats that gets you is going to be $463,000 worth of purchasing power. That is absolutely massive on a $1,000 Bitcoin purchase. And you can think about it, whether you have $1,000 or whatever you go to work today and you make more than you spend, whatever you put into Bitcoin, you're getting more sats for your time and energy. And that's why as Bitcoin continues to go up over time, our salaries are just going to continue to go down and down and down. Does that make sense? Because, yeah, I think that makes sense. But that's how you have to look at it. You have to look at this thing like a buyer, not a seller. We were trained to think like sellers, where you buy low and sell high, whereas this is completely different. This is like a farmer accumulating farmland. Farmers don't check the price of their land every day. Farmers go to work, and when something comes up around them, they buy it, regardless of what the price is. And actually, they want it to be lower so they can actually afford to buy it, because they're in the business of expanding their operation. They're in the business of expanding their generational wealth. And that's how Bitcoiners need to think. Farmers don't think buy low and sell high. Farmers think buy as much as you fucking can. Separate X says the right pair of Bitcoin is its electricity. And in short, a Bitcoin miner on average has a cost of 26 to 30K Bitcoin right now based on hash rate difficulty. In short, Bitcoin price can never go below this range. Supplies won't. I know what you're saying. You're saying that it costs $30,000 to mine a Bitcoin right now. I don't know that that's true. I mean, you could be right. I would assume that the cost to mine Bitcoin right now would actually be higher than buying it. I guess it obviously depends on how much you're paying for your electricity. But the average of 30K per Bitcoin to mine seems low. I could be wrong, though. I could be wrong. Thiago, good morning. Good morning. Jason says it's still an access to information education issue. We just happen to have asymmetric information. Yes, that is absolutely truth. I'll see what LaughPad shared here. See if I can find it. So it's a guy. I guess I could just show it here. Looks like he had Ethereum tattooed on his arm. But there's Bitcoin on there too. I mean, it's true. Bitcoin's crashing too. But yeah, everybody's going back to work to get more sats. Tom says, preach. Anywhere in the world you go, the problem is the same. 100%. 100%. Quick laughs. Good morning. Illusion for sure. That's why the Matrix is such a perfect description for the current system. Yes. Receiving sats feels better. I think it feels better to send sats, personally. Jason says it's a wizard war. The London bankers want their territory back. Well, they're not getting it. That's the tough realization for them. They're not getting it back ever, unless they buy Bitcoin and do something with that. But I feel like they're going to be pretty late to the game. Do I believe in Bitcoin power law? No. Why don't I believe in Bitcoin power law? Because I'm pretty sure anyways, I could be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure that power law is based on other things that have happened in the world, and which kind of validates why it's happening this way in terms of going up and down and slowly over time going up. But I don't buy that. I don't subscribe to that theory because we've never had an asset like Bitcoin. So if anybody's ever trying to compare anything to Bitcoin, they're full of shit. There's never been an asset like Bitcoin in human history before. So how do you compare any sort of model or chart or anything to Bitcoin? You can't. That's the answer. You can't. And I posted a video on the channel here last week saying that I think that Bitcoin could get to $1 million in fiat before the end of 2025. And if you go read some of those comments, people being people. But anyways, the point of the video was that I could be right. I could be wrong. I don't know. And anybody who's trying to argue against me has no bearing because we've never had an asset like Bitcoin before. That was the point of me making the video. And people just don't get that. People are just like arguing till they're blue in the face of why they think it won't happen when really they have no fucking idea. That's the whole point of the video. And it was just like, whew. Less than $800 US buys you over 1 million sats. How could you ever get better than that? You can't. Bodhi says 21K. What does that mean? 21K. Good morning, Team Bitcoin. Thanks to many here who help each of us. If not for Jor and Arnie, I would be years behind in my knowledge base. Bitcoin Generations live Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern time. Well, Bodhi, the 21K, I'm not sure what that's about because I don't have Arnie's wallet here. But if that was a zap, we might be getting close to our 500K here. But we'll wait. If it was, I'll confirm here. But anyways, the point of that is that Bitcoin Generations, Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern time, Bodhi, Jor. Bitcoin Generations also very underrated show. Extremely underrated. Great quote from Satoshi Nakamoto here. If you don't believe me or don't get it, I don't have time to try to convince you. Sorry. Bingo. Jimmy says, I should have specified. If getting orange pilled is understanding Bitcoin, BlackRock pilled is understanding what BlackRock is. Still don't really get it. So I guess I'm not BlackRock pilled. Do I know what BlackRock is? Yeah, they're the largest holder of assets on the planet. And they love Bitcoin. BTC Hunger Pains, good morning. Bitcoin Beacon, Bitcoin Forever. Look at that. Lots of Bitcoiners here. Number go up can lead to a number of kids go up. True. Jor, Forrest, Rajat are something special together. Thank you, my friend. 3 great minds at Maple. Look at that. Lots of love for Maple Bitcoin here today. Maple Bitcoin is the best conversations on Bitcoin that I've come across. Wow. Lots of love for Maple Bitcoin. BTC Hungerpain says, do you use Blue Wallet? I tried to connect to my Start9 Electrum, but it says I need to Orbot. Orbot is so confusing to connect to Tor. Too many settings. Do you use Orbot? No. I use Sparrow and Start9. Well, I guess it's Sparrow and Electris. I actually posted a really interesting video. And for the people who are in 365 days of Bitcoin, make sure you watch day 95 because I talked about UTXOs. I talked about privacy. I talked about SHA-256 and XPubs. I think more Bitcoiners, I shouldn't say that, but XPubs, people should be looking into XPubs and how it all ties together. and how XPubs generate addresses, why you can't reverse engineer it because of SHA-256. It's a pretty big a point to understand in Bitcoin. It's going to help you navigate everything much better, in my opinion. So if you are in 365 days of Bitcoin, make sure that you watch day 95. That's the one I did yesterday on the course. So it doesn't really answer your question, but where I was going with that is if you actually connect your Sparrow wallet to your own node, you increase your privacy significantly. And you can be sending KYC Bitcoin into that wallet. You can be sending non-KYC Bitcoin into that wallet. As long as you're using different receive addresses and you're connected to your own Bitcoin node, you're okay. You're going to be very private. As transparent as Bitcoin is, if you're connected to your own node and you're doing things properly and not reusing addresses, you're going to be a million miles ahead of the Bitcoiners who don't understand that. And there's going to be a lot of future pain between transaction fees and privacy in the future because people just don't know what they're doing at this stage. So I would highly encourage anybody out there watching this right now, if anything I just said didn't make a whole lot of sense to you, you should be going through the 365 days of Bitcoin course. Because there's a lot that you can screw up, even if you're buying it and you're storing it properly. There's still a lot of things that you can run into issues with in the future. So I'll put that link to the Patreon in the live chat there, and you can go join the 365 days of Bitcoin. It's $21 a month. You start off right off the hop with 95 videos. They're all about 5, 10, 50 minutes long, but incredibly important to understand how the whole thing works, unless you want to be burned in the future. Jack Dorsey says Bitcoin fails if it is not used for everyday payments. I would agree with that. I'm more on Jack Dorsey's side than Michael Saylor's side on that. Daniel says use Sparrow to connect to Start9. Yes. By the way, if anybody needs, again, if anybody needs, don't even have it here. Shit. If you have the money, if you have the funds available, you should absolutely be getting yourself a Start9 server and learning how to connect to your own node. You're going to increase your knowledge, your privacy. You can do a lot of things with that Start9. And I highly recommend it. If you can, if you're kind of behind the 8 ball a little bit, don't buy one. But if you have the funds, you should 1000% be buying yourself a Start9 server. And you can use the code 88SATS there. I just put in the chat. And you can save about, somebody said they saved $100. There was a sale going on between the link and the sale. They saved about $100 or $150 off their Start9 server. Rick Costa. Did I miss Rick in here? I don't know. I see him here, but I don't know if I missed the first one. Anyways, morning, Rick. Gregory says, focusing on full Bitcoin instead of Satoshis only discourages people from buying. Thank you, Jorah, for talking about Satoshis. So I kind of mentioned this yesterday on the show that I did for day 95, but that's all that there is in Bitcoin. Satoshis is the only thing that there is in Bitcoin. Satoshis and UTXOs making up Satoshis. And every wallet, every balance within your wallet is just a bunch of UTXOs. And the sum of those UTXOs makes up your wallet balance. And you need to pay very close attention to your UTXOs. Not how much Bitcoin you have, not anything else, but your UTXOs. And from my experience, using something like Sparrow is the best way to manage your UTXOs. I think that there's a huge disconnect there between new Bitcoiners just seeing their balance in their wallet. They open their wallet up, they see that they have 0.00125 of a Bitcoin. They don't pay attention to Satoshis, for one. but they also don't pay attention to their UTXOs. They just think that that's their balance, like a bank account, right? Because if you think about a bank account, you log into your online banking, that number is just a number. There's no potential issues in the future from it. There's no way to compromise your privacy from it. We're used to that world where it doesn't matter what's making up that balance in your bank account. It's just a balance. But in Bitcoin, it's totally different. That balance is just a sum of your UTXOs. And UTXOs is very much more, it's more closely aligned with like bills in your wallet versus numbers on a bank account. So you should try to do your best to try to understand that whole, what I'm talking about right now, because it'll help you navigate the future of Bitcoin better. Not only save you fees, but significantly increase your privacy in the future. So yeah, sats is all there is. Bitcoin is just like a measurement of sats. Very similar to like the monetary system with cents and dollars, right? Cents. My grandma used to always my grandma told me at a very young age, she said, look after the cents and the dollars will take care of themselves. And I think that that's how everybody should approach Bitcoin. Look after your sats and your Bitcoin will take care of itself. Same thing. Dollars is just a total of cents, but cents is really all there is within the financial system. And within Bitcoin, it's all about Satoshis. Bitcoin's just like the sum of Satoshis, but Satoshis is the unit. Yes. Tom says everyone in this chat will have more Bitcoin tomorrow than today. Every stacker will have more tomorrow than today. And nobody's selling. All right. See you, coffee. See you later. Greg, you opened my eyes. I price everything in 100K sats now. Yeah, start. I mean, that's one thing that'll change your life. If you start measuring, if you start looking at sats as dollars, everything changes. Everything changes. Bodie, 21,000 sats to Arnie's wallet. Very thankful for you guys. Where the hell is Arnie? Arnie, you just got a big zap, man. He's probably sleeping. He had a big weekend. That was his third or fourth weekend in the city. So it's about a 3.5 hour drive. And he has to stay in a place that he has no idea. He's kind of an anxious dog. He's a rescue dog. So he's done really well. Amazingly well. Poor guy. But I like having him there because when, you spend the whole day at a hospital and you come home and somebody's that excited to see you, invaluable. He is an invaluable part of my life. So yes, I agree. I agree with you, Bodie. Even though he can't talk and he doesn't talk about Bitcoin, he is a Bitcoiner and he helps me, a Bitcoiner. So big shout out to Arnie. We also lost Lucky on the weekend, but he came back this morning. We came home yesterday and for the first time, Lucky was gone. I didn't know if he was gone forever. It's pretty sad, actually. Didn't think I would care that much about a cat, but anyways, he showed up this morning and the whole family was happy, especially Arnie. Yogi, health and wealth dad, showed my sister the power of Bitcoin last year. Her position is up 150%. Her savings account shows 4% interest. I'm not the best at math, but saving in Bitcoin sounds like the better choice every time. Amen to that. And look at this. We got our good friend Bit Billy in the chat, in the house. Good morning, Bit Billy. The King Zapper, the iconic Zapper, holds the record for the fattest zaps on the show. Good morning. Separate says, listen to Andrew Tate on Bitcoin. He just told in one of his videos what you always tell in one of the videos where he is with his brother. Interesting. He just told in one of his videos, which you always tell in one of the videos, where he's with his brother. Okay. Well, separate acts. Here's what I would say. Find the video, go over to zap.stream, share the video in the chat, and we'll watch it on the show. That's the beauty of zap.stream, is you can actually share links in there. So again, copy the video, open up zap.stream, post the link in zap.stream, and we'll watch it. Let's see what Andrew Tate has to say. My mom passed 1 million sats, 0 financial literacy otherwise. Isn't that the truth? Oh man, tough to be a part of. But I mean, they were trained in a system that didn't want them to understand money. The only way that the system could have continued is if they kept the baby boomers completely in the dark of how money works. That's the only way it could have survived as long as it did. Tom's got 1 chair, down to 1 chair. Attaboy. We got Frank, infinity divided by 21 million. Good morning, all. Bitcoin is low. Stack some more sats. Amen to that. Amen, brother. So we'll wait for separate X to see if he can share that link in here. Marco says, I guess the hardest part is leaving it on cold storage and not looking at it, but it's hard. Here's what you got to do. Oh, I mean, the reason why I love cold storage so much, other than because it's another layer of security, but the thing is when you send Bitcoin to, okay, let me think about this. I want to word this properly. I think so. Okay. Just hyping myself up here a little bit. If you think about Bitcoin in cold storage, not only does it provide you with an added layer of security, which you want, when you're looking after the best asset that's ever existed before, you want the highest security possible. So cold storage is an added layer of security, because if somebody were to steal your device, or your device was lost, or the flash memory stopped working on it, having it on cold storage, especially if it gets hacked, is much harder to do, because there's a separation there, for one. But the other part, the most underrated part of cold storage, in my opinion, is the fact that you send Bitcoin there, it's much more difficult to spend after that. And speaking personally here, I've had Bitcoin on cold storage. I've had Bitcoin on Lightning, on hot wallets. It is much harder to spend Bitcoin once you send it to your cold storage, which is another layer of savings, right? One of the hardest things as humans is saving money. And when you can separate with another layer there, which is cold storage, it makes your life a lot easier in terms of actually saving your Bitcoin. That's kind of how I look at it. When I send Bitcoin to my cold storage, it's going to stay there probably either for a very long time or forever. I have no issue spending Bitcoin on my wallet of Satoshi, my Speed wallet, Coinos. But when it goes into cold storage, it's there, which is a very underrated part of cold storage. But the second thing that I would say about that too is that that's why I have no issues sending like 30,000, 50,000, 80,000 sat transfers onto cold storage. Even if your favorite Bitcoin influencer on YouTube says that you should have 1 million sat minimum UTXO, no, because I send it to cold storage. I know not only is it more secure there, but I'm probably never going to spend those sats. Plus, in the future, you want to have some small UTXOs kicking around. Because if you agree with me in the sense that in a decade or two, 1 sat is going to be $1, think about spending those 50,000 sats in one spot. What are you going to buy for that? Like a quad, truck, new cabin? Who knows? But if you had it in a bigger UTXO, let's say you had 1 million sat UTXO and you bought a truck with that in 10 years from now, and you buy that truck, you send the guy the sats, 50,000 sats, and he now looks back. He follows that transaction on chain and sees that you have 1 million sats in that wallet. And think about at that time, what is 1 million sats going to be worth? It'd be like sending somebody, if you're a millionaire, it'd be like sending somebody an e-transfer and then being able to look back and see what your account balance is in your bank account. That's why you need to pay close attention to the privacy, not only just the size, but the privacy of your UTXOs in the future. So that's why I have no issues, whether it's 30,000, 50,000, 80,000 sats sending it to my cold storage, because of those reasons. It's going to be there. I'm not spending that now. And when I do go to spend that in the future, they're not going to be able to look back and see how many sats I have because I didn't listen to my favorite Bitcoin influencer. A lot of people are missing that. I think that aside from like security inheritance, that is the most under talked about part of Bitcoin, is the privacy concerns about your UTXOs. And I've talked about this quite a bit on the channel lately, but I really want to drive it home because it is very important. Okay, separate X. Separate X. We got the video here. Let's see what we're talking about. Oh, hopefully this was the right starting point here. Separate X, if you're still watching this, let me know how long we want to be watching this. Like, is it 5 minutes, 1 minute? See what Tate has to say. Apparently, he's saying what I say. So I don't agree with everything Tate says before all the psychopaths come out and say, oh my God, you're sharing Andrew Tate on your YouTube channel. You're a big...
In 2 or 3 years, now is when you need to be panicking for money. Not when crypto was spiking and everyone was talking about it and every dummy was making money. Then it's too late. You need to be panicked now, make money now, stack your bags now. Stick to the basics. Ethereum, Bitcoin. The coins are not going to go anywhere. You should be panicked now to buy as much Bitcoin and ETH as possible so in 3 years you can guaranteed retire from life forever. You were panicking more to make money to buy crypto when crypto is reaching all-time highs than you are now when it's on sale. Think about how stupid that is. It's the same coins, the same infrastructure, the same ideals, the same technology. You need to buy now. So now is more important than ever for you to make money. Don't worry about crypto all-time highs and all that kind of crap. You need to make a bunch of money now urgently, quickly, and start stacking a bag so when the all-time highs come again, you can sell out $25 million.
And I agree with what Andrew Tate said so.
I agree with most of that. I don't think you should be buying now with the intention of selling it when it goes up. I think you should just be understanding how valuable sats are and the fact that you can get more sats for the same amount of dollars. But yes, I mean, I agree exactly what he's saying. It is stupid. It's stupid that people panic when they can get more of the exact same asset for less dollars. But again, it's because we're trained to think in that mentality, to buy low, sell high. But that's not the case with Bitcoin. You buy it at every price and you never sell it. Jay says, love Maple Bitcoin. Rajat might be the most bullish person I've ever heard. Yeah, he is. I mean, I'm right up there with him. But he says that like Bitcoin's going to go to 100, 10 million, 100 million with certainty. And he's right. He doesn't put any sort of timeline on it, but he's right. It absolutely is going to happen. Did you know BlackRock got the keys to bond market from the Federal Reserve during COVID? They pumped their own bags with the Fed's money in a deal called the CCF Corporate Credit Facilities. I didn't know that, but it doesn't surprise me at all. Hey, look at this. Renita says, good morning, everyone. You and Bodhi are the best. Love that show too. Bitcoin Generations. Underrated show. I think. I'm part of it, so it doesn't really, my opinion doesn't matter much. Daniel says, one of the best parts of Sparrow, easy to back up all your metadata, including XPubs. Bingo. Tom says, memes speak to younger people and convey a lot of information quickly. Even better, they spark curiosity. Don't sleep on the power of memes for getting attention and education towards Bitcoin. Exactly. Rajat has become the resident hyperbole. Yes, Rajat is awesome. Matt, good morning, my friend. Nick, good morning. Thorhammer says, I believe Bitcoin will be fluctuating mid 70 through May. Maybe. Starting to look at a home equity loan. The dip is beautiful. There we go. Now we're talking. Because the only thing better than owning a house is having Bitcoin attached to that house in the form of a loan. That's going to be the future. 100%. Anyways, Dreadstone, good morning. Hi from the UK. Imsy, I reckon this is the final phase of really dumping out all the guests and weak retail investors before things start to pump. Of course, no one knows the future, but what are your thoughts? My thoughts would be my thoughts are, after listening to Scott Bessent talk, after listening to Donald Trump talk, and actually listening to what they're saying, they want this to happen. This is an operation. This is by design. Everything that's happening right now is happening. So I don't know what's going to happen, but the fact that it is actually happening and the Fed is calling an emergency meeting today suggests that whatever Trump and Bessent are doing right now is clearly working. Clearly working. And the Fed might lower rates. The Fed might print money. Either way, all roads lead to Bitcoin over time. And speaking of Rajat, he's absolutely right. In the long term, Bitcoin is going to go to $1 million. Then it's going to go to $100 million. And then it's going to go to $1 billion. Over time, it's going to happen. So I don't really give a shit, honestly, about what's, no one knows the future. That's right. You're exactly right. And anybody who pretends to know what the future is going to be is full of shit. So I have my opinions, I have my thoughts on it, but at the end of the day, I have no idea. Because again, we've never had an asset like Bitcoin before. We've never had an asset like Bitcoin before. So all the models, all the predictions, everything that you think you know is wrong. The only thing that matters in this whole equation is supply and demand. The demand being the top line, the people who understand Bitcoin. Supply being the bottom line. Top line is the amount of people who understand Bitcoin and who are fighting for that bottom line. So as more and more people understand that the stock market is a complete illusion, that the real estate market is artificially inflated to keep up with inflation, the only thing that's causing houses to rise in price is inflation. As more and more people figure out that Bitcoin is a far superior store of value to gold, as more and more people figure out that Bitcoin is a far superior way to transact, the fact that you can send Bitcoin to anyone on the planet with an internet connection, as more and more people figure that out, the top line, the demand grows. And as that top line grows, there's more and more people fighting for the same amount of scarce units in the bottom line there. That is the green light theory. That is why Bitcoin will go up forever. And so in the midterm and short term, I don't know what's going to happen, but I know over time, Bitcoin is going to win. Bitcoin is going to reprice the entire world. So housing prices will drop. Your salary will drop. The price of vehicles will drop. The price of land will drop. The price of everything is going to drop against Bitcoin because of that. Because it is the only true, honest, fixed supply, bottom line there, that exists. And we've never had anything like it before. So I don't know. Point is, I don't know. All models are destroyed. Hey, look at that. Rahul, Bitcoin love from India. Bitcoin Buddha, good morning. Francis, good morning. Good morning, Jor, everyone watching. Cheers, Francis. And we got Treadstone over in the Zap stream. Zapped 88 sats. UK is 51st state. I think the citizens of UK would love that because that place is going to hell in a handbag quicker than Canada. Clowns that owe are dumping coin to pay taxes. Could be. Bitcoin's also like the leading indicator now. So that's why, what's the stock market even doing today? We haven't even checked that out. More importantly, what is MicroStrategy doing today? You know what? Let's look at GameStop. So it's up today? Wow. Didn't expect that. Didn't expect that. And for those who watch the show, you might know that I sold some of my MicroStrategy to buy GameStop. So I am now invested in GameStop because I think it's going to do better in the short term compared to MicroStrategy. I guess I need to type in strategy. So GameStop's up 5%. Ooh, strategy's down 5%. Wow. That's kind of telling. Kind of telling. Oh, I got a meeting here right away. Shit. Shit. Okay, what else we got here? Hey, cleaning machine topped up your coffee. Thank you. I don't have my other wallets here today, but I trust you because you also zapped me a coffee on Friday. So I thank you. I appreciate that. And you know what, cleaning machine, I messed up a little bit because I said that I hadn't received your Maple Bitcoin hoodie order, but I did. It was just actually sitting in the spam folder. So I got the order. I apologize. It was in spam, but you're good to go. So I'll reach out today with some more info for you. Anyways, I just shared the Zap Me a Coffee. New thing, you don't have to have nostr as long as you get a Lightning wallet. You can zap the show if you want to. Or you can go on Zapstream. Both work. But that one's a little bit easier, I think, for most people. So thank you, Cleaner Machine. I appreciate that. Rick says, Andrew Tate was one of the first guys that got me into Bitcoin about 7 months ago. I mean, he makes a lot of sense with Bitcoin and with his logic on things. He does it in a very aggressive way. Sometimes can go a little bit too far. But overall, like his messages, I agree with for the most part. And his main messages, I think, have been Bitcoin's going up forever. Sell everything to buy Bitcoin. Men and women are the only two genders. And the Democrats have destroyed the world. Pretty much his three main talking points, which I agree with. And men should not be allowed to play in women's sports. So he says a few other things here and there that people sound clip and, make him out to be this big bad guy. But for the most part, like his message is correct. Swap Bitcoin for Monero for big purchases. I would disagree with that. But teach their own. ETH is a shitcoin, 100%. Hopefully, people have been watching this channel long enough where you listened when I said sell Bitcoin as fast as you possibly can for whatever you can get for it, because Ethereum just continues to leak against Bitcoin. It's amazing to watch. Trump's tariffs don't actually start until April 9th. Worst times ahead for the U.S. market. What do we got here? Benjamin. I don't like Ethereum at all, but I hear you may be able to stake your Bitcoin at a high rate once regulations are put into place, and that's interesting to me. No, don't be staking your Bitcoin. Get your Bitcoin into cold storage. Protect it. Don't ever try to earn a yield or stake your Bitcoin. Never. Under any circumstances. KP says it's not an emergency meeting. This meeting has been scheduled. People have been running with that rumor. I would be guilty of that. Work save Bitcoin. Good morning, my friend. Basen has been sounding like a G from what I've heard so far. Yes, he is. Sweating and Smiling Together says Bitcoin Generations is an excellent show for beginners all the way to advanced. Bodhi is always bringing new cutting edge tech and tries to break it down. Yes, sir. Buck52 says, don't be weak. Don't be stupid. Don't be a panicking. A new party based on weak and stupid people. Be strong, courageous, and patient, and greatness will be the result. Donald John Trump. I like that quote. Bitcoin or no coin? Absolutely right. Stan says 2 factors are key: the rate at which the gains compound and the length of time you all allow compounding. Expect to wait another 10 years or 20 years. Could be sooner, but don't plan on it. Great advice. Great advice. Brian says, would love to hear humble pie stories about Bitcoin in 2015. Was going to prize out Fantasy Football League with Bitcoin at 300 USD. Oh. Could you imagine? Duncan, morning, Jor. Better late than never. Do you think the 4-year cycle is over? Oh, that's a good question. I think I've changed my mind on this. And I think that the 4-year cycle is over, mostly because of the reasons I've been talking about here for the last couple of weeks in terms of the green light theory. And in terms of demand is the only thing that matters now. Because during the halving cycles, during these 4-year cycles, there was a lot of change in terms of the supply. There's a lot of change in terms of the supply. And so let me break this down here for you. I'll do my best. It's always scary to do spreadsheets live on the air here. What could I do here? 4-year cycle. Okay, so we have. Let me share this with you just so you. Oh, that's a Zabjora coffee button. Okay, so whoa. Browser's lost connection to screen share audio. Can you guys hear me? Can you just confirm that you can hear me quickly? It says that my browser lost connection to my audio. So I don't want to start here until we know that we can hear. So I'm either going to hear that. Okay. Thank you, Letha. Okay. So let's get back to, let's close this. Duncan said, morning, Jor. Better late than never. Do you think the 4-year cycle is over? So let me explain why I do think that the 4-year cycle in Bitcoin is over. So we got the top line here. The top line in Bitcoin is the demand. This is going to tie into the green light theory, but it's also going to show why I think the 4-year cycle is over. Okay, so this top line here, I want you to think about demand as people who understand Bitcoin. That's the top line, demand for Bitcoin. Not people who own Bitcoin, not people who have Bitcoin in a wallet, not people who have a Bitcoin wallet, period. Those are bad metrics to use. The top line here is the demand for people who understand Bitcoin. So let's say that there are 1 million people who understand Bitcoin on this planet right now. And let's say that the supply historically, and that's why I'm tying this into the 4-year cycle here. So back in 2000 and let me just bring this up here right now. Time chain calendar. So this is why the halvings were much more important before. So you can see here, so we're in epoch number 5 right now. And let's go to epoch number 3. So you can see that here at the epoch of 3, the subsidy was 12.5 Bitcoin every 10 minutes. So that's the Bitcoin blockchain, the network, spits out new Bitcoin every 10 minutes. So back in When was this? 2016. So you can see that there was 12.5 Bitcoin every 10 minutes that were released into circulation. Right now, you can see that it is 3.125. I'm looking up here at the subsidy. So 3.125 Bitcoin today. Back in 2016, it was 12.5. We'll just go 2017. So at this time, there was 16 million Bitcoin available. That was the total supply of Bitcoin available. So 78.27. So let's go back to this spreadsheet. What did I say it was? 16.43 million. Okay. So at this rate, there's 1 million people who understand Bitcoin, and there's 16 million Bitcoin available. So for each one of the people who understand Bitcoin at this point, we need to divide it by that. So we got 0.6%. Okay. So just follow me here. Follow me. So the demand. This same demand is unchained. Or unchanged, not unchained. And we don't need the dollar sign there. No. I'm trying to make this pretty. Okay. So that same demand with the supply, which is today, which is what? Okay, get out of here. Oh yeah, I don't know what the hell's happening here. The supply today is 19.84 million. $19.84 million. Okay, so where are we here? So we want to do the, oh shit, I missed a zero. So we're going to do the exact same formula here. So you can see there that it's now 5%. So the supply changed significantly there. The demand change was unchanged. I don't know why I keep saying unchained. But you can see there that for all the people who understand Bitcoin is, let's say 0.06 and then 0.05. Okay, so it hardly changed there, right? Hardly changed. But now, if we go like this, let's say the demand is now 5 million. So 5 million people now understand Bitcoin. Okay. And we got the same supply. Is equal to what? This divided by supply. So 0.3. So you can see here that the supply changed. It went from 16 to 19. But let's say that it was back in, let's say that it was way back here. Sorry, it's kind of hard to, actually, no, we should be able to understand this. So back in 2012, I mean, it's just even cool to look back in this period. But you can see here that there was only 8 million supply. So that's why this whole thing is so, basically what I'm trying to say here is that you had 8 million supply back in 2012. And then it went to 16 million. And now it's at 19 million. And now if we go to, so you can kind of understand that the supply as time goes on becomes less and less relevant here. It's all about the top line there. It's all about the demand for Bitcoin, because we've already passed the point where the supply is going to change very much. Even in the last 5 years, it only changed by 3 million bottom line there. And by 2030, what is it, 2036, 99% of the Bitcoin are going to be mined. So I would say at this point going forward, that's why the 4-year cycles is over, because the 4-year cycle was mostly based on supply change. But the supply change is not really going to change that much for the next 100 years. But the top line, the people who understand Bitcoin, the green lights that are turning on all around the world every single day, that is going to be what changes everything here. So let's just look at this. Let's look at this last example here. So this demand. So let's look at this. Let's say that there's 5 million people who understand Bitcoin. And this changes to be 10 million. Oh, that's one down. We missed a 0. So you can see here that that changed from 0.3 to 0.6. And keep in mind here that this top line, that's the amount of people who are fighting for the bottom line. As more and more, as that number grows, there's going to be more and more people fighting for that bottom line, which means that the price of that asset is going to continue to go up over time. But if you change this to be, so that went from 0.3 to 0.6, but if you change it from 5 million people understanding to now 20 million available, it really doesn't change that much. Oh. So it went from 0.3 to 0.25. So essentially from the supply supply schedule here, from 2000 and when was that? 2017 to 2025, the supply changed from 16 million to 20 million. And that number, that bottom number barely changed. But it's the top line here. That's what we need to be focused on. As this number grows here, the top line, that's how real change, that's how things are going to really change here. That's why I think that the bottom line changing going forward isn't going to be much of an impact anymore. That has already been done. Right? Going from 19 million to 19.3 to 19.6 to 20, it's not going to change the supply demand aspect of this very much. It's all about the top line. That's what I've been talking about here. And that's why I do think that the 4-year cycle is over, because the supply is hardly going to change going forward now. That was the big driving factor. The reason why there was such huge swings is because more supply was coming onto the market. But that supply is so insignificant now that none of this really matters too much anymore. So that's why I think that the 4-year cycle is over. Hope that makes sense. I mean, I've talked about that at length here for the last couple of weeks in terms of the top line being the most important, but that actually ties very well into the 4-year cycle as well, because you have to keep in mind, just one more time here, the 4-year cycle is 100% based on supply. That's why there were such swings, because every 4 years, the supply would be cut in half, changing that supply and demand dynamic. But the supply is not going to change very much anymore. So I think that the 4-year cycles are over for the most part. Jen says, would you sell silver to buy Bitcoin or stack both? No, sell silver, buy Bitcoin. Stan says, silver was already defeated by gold as a store of value and a medium of exchange, and Bitcoin will do the same to gold. Yes, exactly. Tom says, Jory, you are hereby an honorary Floridian. All right, I'll take that. I'd love to move to Florida. Sounds like a crazy person, this Tate guy. Tom says, can you do a show on the pitfalls of staking? I don't need to do a show on it. The only thing that you need to know is that if you're staking your Bitcoin, somebody else is holding your Bitcoin, and they might actually not have the Bitcoin. They're probably lending it out to somebody else, which is how you earn your yield, right? That's how the banking system works too. You give somebody else your Bitcoin, they lend it out to somebody else. They're earning interest on that, and they're paying you a portion of that. So they're not even holding your Bitcoin either. So your Bitcoin is probably going to disappear. That's what we've seen with FTX, Celsius, all through the years. Anytime you lend your Bitcoin to somebody else, you usually don't get that Bitcoin back. So you might get good returns for a couple months, but it's probably going to be gonzo. Benjamin, thanks for the advice. No problem, my friend. Hey, Mikkel. Good morning. Good morning, Vietnam. Mikkel says, sup, you sat stacking sleuts. Hi, Arnie. Is Arnie here? No, but we'll probably see him in a minute here because we're going to wrap things up. Don't you keep custody when the rental ends? I mean, yeah, you're supposed to get it back in a perfect world, but it never comes back because that's how paper Bitcoin is created. You lend your Bitcoin out to somebody, they lend it out to somebody else, they pay interest, they pay you interest, but that Bitcoin just keeps going higher and further down the chain, further away from you, where you're earning this yield. But that's how paper Bitcoin is created. And then it never comes back. So I would just say don't do it. Simply don't do it. Okay. I got a meeting here right away and I got to go. So big fat thank you to everybody who sent in some zaps today for the rescue dogs. I'll have an update for everybody tomorrow here in terms of whether or not we got to 500K Bitcoin, 500K sats. I mean, not Bitcoin. We're not strategy here. But yes, thank you for the zaps. Thank you, Treadstone. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Laughpad. Thank you, Letha. Thank you, Plunger. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Duncan. Thank you, Clean Your Machine, for the coffees. And thank you to everybody else who I haven't seen yet, but I will. And look who showed up to say goodbye. Arnie boy. Arnie, you want to say bye? Arnie. What a stubborn bugger. He's shy. And one more time. Happy birthday, Laughpad. Hope you have a great day, brother. Thank you for the zap. And thanks everybody for zapping Laughpad today. Good showing on Zapstream. Great day for the dogs. Great day for the cats. Lucky came back. The cat came back the very next day. And yeah, have yourselves an amazing day today. Take whatever you can and buy as much Bitcoin as you can. You're never going to regret buying Bitcoin at 75K, 80K, 85K, 180K. You're never going to regret buying Bitcoin at any price. So just keep that in mind. Bitcoin is a win-win for everybody. So thanks, everybody. Green lights, keep those babies turning on, keep that demand growing. And the purchasing power of those sats will inherently increase over time. So thanks, everybody. Have a great Monday. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.